Sairam. పిచ్చులు పోగొట్టు పిచ్చులు పోగొట్టు పిచ్చి పట్టించును సచితానందుడు సాయి బాబా కన్నీరు తప్పించును కన్నీరు తప్పించును కన్నీరు తెప్పించును చిన్మయమూర్తి సాయి బాబా. The one who walks away the madness of life and creates madness about himself. That is Sachitananda Sai Baba. The one who wipes away the tears of sorrow and brings in tears of joy is that Chinmayamurti Sai Baba. I bow to thee, Swami, offering my loving and reverential pranams at your lotus feet. I take this opportunity to offer my loving salutations to all those who are listening to me this evening on a Saturday in the month of December 2021. So Swami was basically asking us, what is the difference between God and man? Well, as youngsters, in this concrete jungle, we came up with so many suggestions to him. We were answering left and right. Swami said, no, 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 no. And at that point, finally, Swami said, wait. Let me tell you what it is. Swami said, God knows everything, but he pretends not to know anything. I repeat, God knows everything, but he pretends to know nothing. And he said, man, and he looked at us and he said, man does not know much, but he poses to know everything. He said that is the only difference between man and God. And Swami, today, in this talk, I know you are the only one who knows everything, and I'm a mere instrument of yours, and I'm trying my level best to be at thy lotus feet, and I plead to you, Swami, to speak on this forum today. With these words, I would like to go back to an incident that happened way back, I think 20 years or 25 years back. I was sitting in the bhajan hall of Prashanti Mandir, and as the bhajan was going on, suddenly Chiranjeev Rao uncle, I know most of you must be knowing Chiranjeev Rao uncle, a short-statured, stocky build. He was the administrator of the ashram at that time. He came into the bhajan hall. I was sitting right in the center of the bhajan hall, and he called me and said, get up and come. Swami is calling you. Imagine the bhajan is going on. Swami was in his quarters in the room, and this gentleman comes and asked me to get up. By the time I got up from there, I was a very stout guy. Let me also tell you, Swami used to call me Chandrasekhar knows, how stout I was. And Swami used to call me Pakoda, Bonda, double size, Gatodgaja. He had different names for me, and he loved calling me these names. And perhaps it's only twice or thrice in my entire journey, Swami called me by my name. But otherwise, it was mostly Gatodgaja, Pakoda, double size, And this Pakoda, when he tried to get up from the bhajan hall and walk towards Swami's room, by that time, Swami had returned to his quarters because I took some time. But later on, Chiranjeev Rao uncle came and said, Swami wanted me to give you this packet. This is the packet consisting of vibhuti packets. And Swami wanted you to go by bus, leave, and go to Hyderabad and give this to one gentleman called Justice Ishwar Prasad. Justice Ishwar Prasad was a well-noted Bhagwan's devotee, and he was a judge of the Kerala High Court at that time. And I knew him personally well also, so I took it. And I was wondering that how did Swami know that I was leaving by bus and stuff like that. But nevertheless, I got into the bus. Early morning, I reached Hyderabad at 5 o'clock in the morning. Right from the place where I stayed, instead of going home, I took an auto, a three-wheeler, and I rushed to the place where this justice lived. Knocked at his door at 5:45 a.m. in the morning. He opened and he was a little surprised to see me. I said, Uncle, I'm coming from Parthi, and Swami has given me this package to be handed over to you. And here I am to give it to you. So this gentleman was half awake. He took the packets. He said, thank you. And he shut the door. And that's it. I was at least wondering, that he would invite me inside and make me sit down and ask, how was it that this came? But nothing that's happened. I just started back. I was going back home on that day. It was around 5:45, 6 o'clock in the morning. Something struck me in my mind. I said, normally, let's say all of us, when we are working or, when we are given an errand by somebody senior to you, we go back and tell them that, if your mom asks you to do something, you go and tell your mom that, Mom, I've completed this task that you've given me. In your offices, or wherever you work, we normally do that. When your boss gives you some work, you go back and tell your boss that, boss, I've completed the work. And here is a Lord of the Lords. He's given me a task to do, whether it's a 2 Vibhuti packets to be delivered to some place. I thought it's my bounden duty to go back and tell Swami that I have done the task. So I went back home and I told my mom, I had a quick shower and I told my mom, I am going to Parthi again. She asked me, are you crazy? You just arrived. I said, no, Mom, this is what has happened. I have to go back. Then she said, okay, go. So I arrived at Puttaparthi by the evening. Those days, darshan was around 5:30 in the evening. I am sitting in the front line, front rows. I got the permission from Saha uncle to sit there in the front so that I could tell Swami that I have completed the assignment given to me. A young guy in late 20s, lot of ego, bubble, feeling that accomplishment. Yes, I've done something. Swami has given me some work and I have done this work. And with that feeling of accomplishment, I sit there expecting Swami to come. And then I get up and I want to tell him. Then Swami pats me and says, well done. This is what is the anticipation with which I went there. I was sitting. Swami walks up to me. And, this bubble rises up. I get up to tell Swami. Swami said, hey, kucho. One bash, done. Swami said, sit down. And, you know that when Swami is very harsh with you and the people around you look at you as if you've done the biggest mistake in life in Prashanti Nilayam. They look at you as if you're the biggest culprit, you've done the biggest mistake in your life. So everybody was looking at me, that I've upset Swami and Swami walked away. I hung my head in shame. The bubble was totally burst, blasted everything. And I didn't know what to do. I was putting my head down, not knowing what to do. Everybody was gaping at me. And at that point of time, about 10 minutes, Swami went inside. A student comes running and the boy comes and says, Swami is calling you. My God, this is something that, that Swami only can do. So Swami does this and he undoes also some of the things, that he does for you. So undoing things is also a great art that we have to learn from Swami. So I ran inside the interview room. Swami was standing on his simhasan there. His hand was on the simhasan. Swami was reading a letter. So I went into the room and I parked myself on my knees, at least about 4 or 5 feet distance, because I already annoyed him. And I didn't want to annoy him more by going and talking to him on my own. I knelt down on my knees and had my hands together. And I was waiting for Swami to read the letter. Swami read that letter that he was reading. He just pushed it aside. And he said in Telugu, Cheppu, now tell me. He said, now tell me. Then very meekly, all ego blasted down. Very meekly, I folded my hands and said, Swami, you gave me a task to accomplish and I've completed it, Swami. I came back to tell you, Swami. This is how I spoke. Then Swami asked me to come forward and he said, Chesko in Telugu, go ahead. So when Swami says Chesko, that means he is asking you to take a Pada Namaskar. That's how it is. I took the opportunity when Swami asked me to take a Pada Namaskar. I knelt down and kissed his feet. With great joy, I was kissing his feet. And as I was getting up, I made the biggest blunder in my life. I was almost to the height Swami's height, And I said to Swami, I folded my hands and said, Swami, this is the fortune of my previous birth, Swami. I told him in Telugu, pure Telugu, I told him, Swami, idi na purva janma sukritam, Swami. This is the fortune of my previous birth. And as I was speaking this, my face was actually at the level of Swami's shoulders. And you know what he did? He took his hand and slapped me hard on my cheek. Hard. He whacked it on. And imagine, I didn't know what mistake I did. He whacked me on my slap. It was not a pat or something. It was a hard slap. And he said, mad fellow. This is the fortune of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of births that you are sitting in front of me today. Dear brothers and sisters, all of us are so blessed. It's not only me. Hey, each one of us, imagine the 750 crores of people across the world. How many of them have been close to Swami? How many of them have seen Swami? How many of them have read about Swami? How many of them have gone to Puttaparthi to see him? You can hardly count on your fingertips. So Swami has been guiding us, and it is the fortune of our hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of births that we are all there in his fold. We have been coming to him from, I do not know how many hundreds of births. And Swami is tracking, has been tracking, and will be tracking at each birth of ours so that we reach his heart. The point that I want to actually take forward is that all of us, every one of us who are there in the fold of Sai, have already reached Swami from our hundreds and hundreds of our births. The only distance that we have to travel to be one with him is from his feet. That 4.1 feet distance is what we have to travel. It's only that part of the feet, from divine feet, we have to reach his heart and merge in his heart. Is the only thing that we have to do. And for that, Swami has given us so many births. And this birth is something that we have to really acknowledge ourselves so that we reach his heart by following the name, the path of Sai and the name of Sai. This is the most important component that I want to share with you. Now, going forward, this is something, the concept of being with him and reaching his heart is very important. On one occasion, in one of the group interviews, Swami there was one gentleman called as Professor Birudu Ramaraju. Professor Birudu Ramaraju was a professor of Telugu in the Usmania University, one of the old universities in India. And Swami ensured that this gentleman sits through every interview that Swami gives in one calendar year. So this gentleman actually attended more than 400 or 500 interviews in one calendar year. And I know when this gentleman passed away, when I went to his house, there were 2 or 3 gunny bags full of letters written by Swami to him. Such was the devotion that this gentleman had. Can you imagine? So this gentleman was sitting, and we had the opportunity of actually sitting in that same interview when Birudu Ramaraju uncle was also there. So this Swami was talking to him, and suddenly he told Swami, Swami, I have written a poem, Swami, I would like to narrate it to you. Swami said, go ahead and narrate. So this poem is actually in Telugu, but the essence of this poem is so beautiful, and the message that Bhagwan has given is so beautiful. The poem went like this. He said, Swami, Biduram said, Swami, mimmalni Ramudantini. Swami, I call you Rama. I call upon you as Rama. That is what the Swami said, Antivi, yes. Then this gentleman said, Swami, mimmalni Krishnudantini. Swami, I call upon you as Lord Krishna. Then Swami said, Antivi. Antivi in Telugu means yes. Swami, mimmalni Sivudantini. Swami, I call upon you as Lord Shiva. Swami said, yes, Antivi. Swami, mimmalni Daivambunantini. Swami, I call upon you as the Lord Divine. Then Swami stopped him and said, Inni Antivi Kani, na mata okkasari anna vintiva. Swami said, you have called me by so many names and so many times, but did you ever listen to what I said even once? This Swami is asking him. Then he said, One is how Swami is responding to the messages of this devotee is one part of it. And the second thing that is that we have to realize that whatever we say to Bhagwan, Swami is always listening to us. Swami Vintini, Antini is something that we have to know. And this goes on like this. And at the point of where he said, you're calling me by so many names, but why is it that you're not listening to me? See, we call out to Swami every time. We ask for Swami's blessing, Swami's grace. So many times we ask this, but we do not actually, we ask for the grace, but in return, are we listening to what Swami is telling us? Is something that we always have to look at. Now, I will break this monotony of a spiritual message right now and give you some wonderful story. So there was this time once when the group of Hyderabad, we had all gone to Puttaparthi. And this is a wonderful story, and it's got so much of a meaning, of the directions that Swami gave us. We were all, we were working for about 45 days during the 75th birthday. We managed the kitchen, the unloading of trucks, groceries, distribution of food, everything we used to manage. For 45 days, we were all there. And during that 45 days, the entire group of 350 youth hardly went for a darshan or two in that 45 days period. And after that, most of us, we had to rush back to our offices because we had already taken a long leave and we had no other chance to go and sit for darshan. After we left, Swami had called a very senior devotee of the organization and said, "Where are the Hyderabad boys?" And he said, "Boys, Swami, the boys are dead." And Swami was very, very upset that, we had not come to have his darshan. And he sent a message to all of us saying that Seva is important, but it is more important to have my darshan. So tell that boys, the next time that they come, that they have to be here for a darshan at least in a day. So we normally, tend to get bogged down with the seva and part of it and miss the spiritual aspect of devotion and the darshan part of it. So it so happened we came back when we got this message from this elderly devotee. We had a meeting in Hyderabad and we said, we have really upset Swami and it's time that we have to do something. So all of us, about 45 leaders, the core group, we said, we'll go to Puttaparthi, stay there for 3 days and we will not do anything else. So we planned, we took a bus and we all of us landed in Prashantilayam. And we said, as the elders, me and another brother called Uday, we said, and Shekhar was also there. And we said, we'll only go in the morning, have darshan, come back, rest, eat, then go back in the evening. So we did that for 1 full day. Imagine, I do not know how many of but the Hyderabad groups is a very eccentric group. And they cannot sit idle wherever they are. They're always trying to see how is it that they can do some good work or the other. And the first day happened. The second day, the first morning session also happened. And all the rest of the boys came up to us and said, "Anna, what is this, Anna? What are we doing here? We have come to Puttaparthi. We are eating and sleeping. We are eating and sleeping. We are not doing anything much more." We said, "Just shut up. We are only here to have darshan. We are not going to do any seva." So second day also passed away like that. The third day also almost passed away. Third day also passed away. And the next day afternoon, we were supposed to leave Prashantilayam. So we were staying in the sheds at the last, near the western gate. And me and other brother, Uday and Vice Srinivas, we were walking down to the mandir. As we were walking down the blocks of the North 7, North 8, North 7th, and North 9, I don't know how many of you are acquainted with the geographical positions of buildings in Prashantilayam. Right behind the North 7 blocks, there is a range of toilets there, for public use. And we were walking down that path and suddenly we felt a foul smell coming and a lot of stench, and we stopped by and we wanted to check what it was. So we went inside and we saw that some of the bathrooms were clogged and they were needed to be cleaned. And imagine, let me tell you, most of our group members in Hyderabad are doctorates, masters. They're from the prestigious institutions of engineering and management, institutions in India. And they all earn a very fat salary and they're not just like guys, who are just off the track. And we saw that they were all blocked, these lavatories were blocked. And immediately we thought that there's something that we have to do. And we went outside. We bought bottles of acid and brushes and everything. We went to the room and we said, guys, it's time to work now. Enough of 3 days of holiday. We have sat here and we've done all this thing, but we need to get to work. You will not believe at 8 o'clock, we started cleaning the toilets in Prashant Nilayam. Every public toilet in Prashant Nilayam was clean. And there was a competition between groups. Will your toilet sparkle better than mine? Which is better? And that is the kind of mode of Seva that started off. We started at 8. We did not break for lunch. We went on till 4 o'clock in the evening. We were doing the last set of toilets, and there arrives a Maruti red car. And in this car, we have Chiranjeev Rao uncle and Chakravarti uncle both coming there. They drive up, they come to me and they call me by my father's name. He said, young Gopi, come here. Junior Sitapati, my father's name is Sitapati. Junior Sitapati, you come here. I went running there. And Chiranjeev Rao uncle asked, what are you guys doing? I said, uncle, we are cleaning toilets. And I knew that the tone with which he asked me, I knew what it was. There was trouble there. So then he said, are you the leader? I said, no, uncle, I'm not the leader. There was a guy called Uday who was 20 days elder to me. I said, uncle, I'm not the leader. That guy is the leader. I pushed it on him very quickly. Management techniques, push it on somebody. So I pushed it on him, and immediately Uday was called, and he came running, and his uncle asked, Chiranjeev uncle asked, are you the leader? He said, uncle, please tell me. He said, what are you guys doing? He said, uncle, we are cleaning the toilets. And the next question, Chiranjeev uncle said, who gave you the permission? Who gave you the permission to? This guy, Uday, laughed loudly. He said, what, uncle? And he said, laughing. And this gentleman got even wild. He said, what is it? You're laughing. He said, what are you talking, uncle? Prashant Nilayam is my home, and I'm cleaning my toilet in my home. Do I need to take somebody else's permission? Frankly, very right answer, but to the wrong person. And I was zapped, when he said this. And I was looking, and Mr. Chiranjeev was furious, and he left the place in a huff. And I told this guy, Arey, kya bol diya yaar tu? What is it that you have spoken now? This gentleman will go and tell the Bhagwan. Bhagwan is Rama avatar, Krishna avatar, all avatars put together. He will listen now, and we are doomed. We will be thrown out now. And imagine the next day morning, we are seated. We stayed back another day because we knew there was some firing to happen. So Swami walks up to us, comes to us, saying, rowdy gang, rowdy gang, rowdy gang, rowdy gang. He walks up to us. And he looks at that and he says, go inside. So all of us run inside the interview room, 45 of us, we are all seated. Swami is talking to us on various different things. Suddenly he turns and said, what did you guys do? What did you boys do last evening? Then we all kept quiet, and we said, Swami, we cleaned toilets, Swami. Swami suddenly said, who gave you the permission to clean the toilets? The same question, repeat. Who gave you the permission to clean toilets? All of us looked at this guy called Uday. No, beta, tu abhi answer kar. No, you should answer now. Swami is asking the question, you better answer. And this guy goes on his knees, and Swami, it is not the question of permission, Swami. You gave us the opportunity to do it, Swami. Swami said, who gave you the permission? Swami, he said. Then Swami left it there. After some time, Swami posed a beautiful question. He said, boys, what is the greatest gift? What is the greatest gift? And he showed himself. He said, what is the greatest gift that God can bestow upon a good Seva worker? And, we were giving multiple answers. Swami was not agreeing. No. Then he said, wait, I will tell you. Then he said, the greatest gift that God can bestow, and he showed himself, that God bestows to a good Seva worker is yet another opportunity to serve. The greatest gift that Swami gives all of us is another opportunity to serve when you do good work. And this opportunity to good works, actually, Swami went on to say that it redeems you of your birth and life cycles. What a beautiful message that Swami gave us. And I am telling you, all brothers and sisters who are listening to this small talk of mine, remember, whenever you get an opportunity, be it in your office, in your neighborhood, even in your own home, never leave an opportunity of doing or rendering seva. And this is the greatest message that we have to take forward with. So I would now actually move to another beautiful story that Swami had actually, I have experienced it myself in my life. I will talk about this story and then maybe end this part of it. Maybe we'll have opportunities to talk more about Swami and his Divine Leela. See, we always, when we recite the Ashtotram, Satyasai Ashtotram, all of us remember that there is one stanza which says, Om Sri Sai Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Asahaya Sahayaya Namaha. Asahaya Sahayaya Namaha. Where there is no opportunity of any help rendering, any help that you can get from any part of your life, that is the time that Bhagavan actually rises up, and that is what it talks about. Swami's characteristic of Asahaya. In a state of Asahaya, Swami is the Sahaya, is what it is. And I would like to narrate this incident. This incident happened to me, and this happened to me post Swami's Mahasamadhi. I was traveling to the United States on official work. This was sometime in the year 2014. And it was this time that, I had to be there in Chicago for a meeting. And I had booked my tickets and I was planning to leave. And then one younger brother who was very, very close to me, a real younger brother, in the Sai organization, he calls me up late in the evening around 10:30 and says, Gopi bhai, I hear that you're traveling to US. Can you do me a small favor? I said, what is it? He said, Gopi bhai, you know that I'm doing some business in pharmaceuticals. I have some samples with me, and I would want you to carry these samples. The small packet, actually, I would want you to carry these samples and hand it over to one gentleman, you need to courier it to one gentleman in New York after you land. I said, fine. I can bring it over. He said, it's already 10:30 now. I know you're traveling by the 5:30 BA 277 in the morning. I will come to the airport and hand it over. I said, okay, bring it. So he landed up at the airport the next day in the morning at around 4:30, and he brought out three small packets. Three small packets, it had samples. Then I was very agile at the time, and I said, but where is the documentation? If somebody asked me for the document, he gave me a set of documentation. He said, all these documents are as per FDA regulations, and you please take this and move. So there were three packets, and I was carrying a lot of luggage to US for my friends and everything. So I tucked it up in three different suitcases, which I was getting one carry-on and two checked-in baggage. I put it in there and got checked. So I was traveling with another friend of mine, or colleague of mine, a plastic surgeon. We were attending a plastic surgery meeting, in Chicago on hair transplantation. Fortunately, not for me, but for somebody else, it was a research program there. And I land up in Chicago, and I tell my colleague, Dr. Balasubramaniam, I said, I have these medicines, pharmaceutical medicines that my friend has given. So I don't want to walk through the green light. You walk out, since you have nothing to declare. I'll just go declare this, and then I'll just show it to them and come back. Their samples, I wanted to be in line with the procedures. I go to the customs officer there. A lady was there, and I tell her that I gave her the declaration form that I have some samples here. These are the samples. So she looked at the papers and she looked at the material there, and she said, what are these? I said, these are medicines that my friend is actually, I have to send it to a friend of mine. And then it said, she looked at the papers and she said, what are these papers? I said, these are FDA approved papers for what it is. She said, no, these are not FDA documents, these are not FDA approved, she said. And I said, no, that's what my friend said. And then she asked me, what's your friend's company's name? I said, I didn't know. I know his name, but I didn't look at the invoices of what name it was. I never looked at it, because he just gave it me at the airport. So I looked at it and I said, this must be the name. She said, whom are you sending it to? I said, I'm sending it to this particular person whose name is there. And I told them, she's asked me, do you know the name of the company to which you're sending? I said, I don't know. I just have to call him and send it. Then she very politely first said, I'm sorry, sir, these drugs are banned into entry to the United States. This is drug trafficking. You'll have to wait. We'll have to interrogate you. And I said, no, man, this is something that I just can't believe. These are drugs, which have come, and there's a very good friend of mine. So I'm sorry, sir. And then 4 or 5 officers came and they took me to a very strong room, in a big room, steel room, an interrogation room. And I was interrogated for almost about 2 to 3 hours. I'm telling you, that is the only time in my life I cried. They were so harsh with me. I tell you, they were very harsh. They abused me. They said, I said, I want to talk to my brother. My brother was working in the World Bank at a very senior level. He still works with the World Bank in the Washington. I said, I want to talk to him. They said, I'm sorry, we can't give you any access. I said, I have a legal right. I didn't know that I had a legal right, but I said, I want to play that game. I have a legal right. I want to talk to somebody, an attorney or somebody. They said, no, the captain has to come. The captain will interrogate you. You will be taken into custody, and we might either deport you or we will put you behind the bars for drug trafficking. Imagine a guy just trying to help somebody take a few drugs. Then I told them, no, listen, this is what it is. Then I told them, no, this is not the only drugs. I have another packet in this bag also. Then I pulled out that bag, and I showed it them. They said, no, we have to test all this thing. They asked me to pay $600. They said, took it for testing. Then another officer comes to me and then says, the captain will come, he will interrogate. And I was asking, who is this captain? So another officer comes and tells me that the captain's name is Mr. Mustafa. He's the captain, he will come. And another lady, and you won't stand a chance, he said. He comes from a Pakistan origin, you won't stand a chance with him, he said. Imagine, I'm sitting there in Chicago's interrogation room. The captain who's to come is a Muslim who is a Pakistani-based officer with ancestors from Pakistani. He would never let an Indian walk through the problem. This was the scenario. And this, after some time, this short, stocky guy, captain comes in. Oh, so you're the guy, man, who's trafficking drugs into our country? He comes, walks in, and then, very harshly he talks to me. And I tell him, no, sir, captain, listen to me. This is something that has been given. And I told him, listen, I'm speaking the truth and not anything but the truth. I belong to Sri Satya Sai. That was the first time I told him I belong to Sri Satya Sai Seva organizations. Satya Sai Baba, I speak only the truth. He said, I don't care about it. I said, I have another set of medicines also, which I have not declared it as it. It's in the other bag. He said, no. He said, and then I said, believe me, I don't know if you know Satya Sai Baba, but he's an embodiment of truth. And we're all his disciples. And I was trying to plead with him. He was very harsh with me. And finally, I said, wait, let me show you. And in the big suitcase, let me tell you, brothers and sisters, I had packed a set of books which we had released for Swami's birthday to be gifted to some of my friends in the US. And these books were neatly wrapped, packed, tied, and kept at the bottom of the suitcase. This book was called the Sri Satya Sai, the Lord of the Universe. And I told him that I'll give you this. I opened the suitcase. You will not believe the wrapper is open. The books that were right at the bottom of the suitcase are right on top. As I open the suitcase, one book actually just goes up like this at the back of the suitcase. And the book is there. Swami's Abhayhastam is there. And the title is there, Sri Satya Sai, the Lord of the Universe. The moment I see, I forget the entire concept that I had packed it, kept it right beneath. And I didn't even know that these books are come up, and it had opened itself and is right on the top. The moment I see the photograph, I said, Captain, this is Satya Sai Baba I'm talking about. This is the gentleman I'm talking about. This is my guru. I am from this organization. I'm pleading with him. I'm crying. I'm telling him. This captain, Mustafa, looks at me, looks at the book, looks at me, looks at the book. He's just staring at me, staring at the book. And then do you know, brothers and sisters, what was the next question that he asked? He asked me, did this guy at any time go to Pakistan? He asked me. And this was a question that I could never answer, How do I know if Bhagwan had gone to Pakistan or Kazakhstan or Timbuktu or which place? How do I know it? Swami might have traveled anywhere in his, metaphysical form. He can go anywhere, any place. And I said, I do not know. Then he looks at me and says, A friend of mine told me that, somebody from this guy's organization had come and done some cataract operations there. Then I later realized after few years that Dr. Upadhyay from UK had gone there and some treatment, operations were done at a long time. Then he looks at me and he calls his officers, and you know what he said? This guy is speaking the truth. Let him go. One word. He said, this guy is speaking the truth. Let him go. Then you won't believe, 2 officers were given to me. The entire medicines were taken to a place where they're destroyed in an incinerator. I was asked to dump it. The 2 officers took me to the counter. I had to fly. I had already missed my next flight. They got me the ticket from the counter there for the next day flight. They took me in their car. They put me in a hotel. And the next day morning, they traveled for me again to the airport. And I reached Chicago, and very shattered, but very divinely blessed that I realized at that point of time. Most of us think that Swami's physical existence is not there, but Swami is there every moment of our life. He's there. He's right beside you. And I don't think any one of us can get a better friend than him. He's always by the side. The only thing that we need to do is to give a call. The only call that we have to do. Most of us, unfortunately, make Swami a part of our life. All of us think that, Swami is a part of our life. The moment you make that small correction within our own selves, remove the part of your life, the part there, make him your life. I tell you, brothers and sisters, things change dramatically. The moment Swami becomes your life, he is the embodiment of our own hearts. He speaks from within. He guides from within. He becomes the eternal conscience in our own hearts. And I don't think we never can do any mistake in our life. Never can we be afraid of anything in our life. And my travel with Swami has been in such a beautiful manner that I can feel that Swami's presence is all pervading. He's Sarvantaryami. He's omnipotent. He's omnipresent. And he's omniscient. He knows everything. Today, I have actually prepared myself to talk something else. If you see my notes, I had really done a good homework. And let me tell you, I have not even spoken a single aspect from what notes I have written today. He knows what is to be spoken where, and he is the one who drives us. So with these few words, that since the time is up, I would only like to end this with a small poem that Swami himself has narrated. Most of us get disappointed very, very fast. We always think that Swami is not with me. Swami is not helping me in turbulent times. Why is it that Swami doesn't come to help? Swami, let me tell you, Swami's devotees are the most tested ones. Swami tests you so hard. The testing times are so hard. He makes you solid rock. And that's how you start to glitter like a diamond. When Chandrasekhar was talking, you have to go through all the turbulent times. Non-Sai devotees don't have that. If you want to get closer to God, if you want to shine like the diamond of Sai, you have to undergo the traumatic experiences. Life is not going to be a very, easy game. Life is a game, and Swami wants us to play it, challenge it, and Swami wants us to realize this. And in this journey of our life, it is necessary that we never get disappointed. Why do we need to get disappointed when Swami is in you and he is your best friend of your life? There is no other friend in your life who can be your best friend. And Swami himself, at one context, when somebody was actually talking about disappointment, and Swami narrates this beautiful poem, Yela Nirasha, Yela Nirasha, Sai Shudundanga, Yela Nirasha, Paramardamu Kella Padarani Badalu, Paduchunna Bhaktulaku Patukommai Undanga, Devadi Devudu Dikkai Undaga Yela Yela nirasha. Swami says, Yela nirasha. Why are you guys getting disappointed? Why are you getting, when Saisha is there with you, the Lord Sai is there with you, why do you want to get disappointed? I know a lot of turbulence is there in your lives, but remember, hold on to the branch. Hold on to the branch that is called Satya Sai. When Sai is around you like a strong branch, hold on to that branch, and he will ensure that he takes you over and sees that you cross the ocean of life. And this is what Bhagavan Satya Sai is to all of us. With these
Gopi Bhaiya, you were just mentioning when you were speaking that do we hear him? And then you left it, and of course you carried on with the other things. So if you could elaborate on that, that is definitely the dilemma with most of us, that we do pray and plead, and we know that he is listening and he has immediately granted what is best for us. But then still we are not able to hear him.
So, yeah, that's a beautiful question, and let me answer you. Uh, it's only in absolute silence that you can hear his divine voice. When you have multiple things in your brain, which is, always wandering with thoughts, there's so much of confusion that happens. You cannot hear him because your mind is totally preoccupied with so many things. You calm down yourself, and that is the reason, they say that when you meditate, it's talking to God or God speaking to you directly. Only in meditation, you actually God speaks to you directly. This is one part of it. Second thing is that whenever something happens, and we need an answer. So let me tell you, we want to hear something that you want Swami to speak or God to speak. Never expect that to happen. Always our prayers to be, Swami, you know what is the best, and you give me what you think is the best. At that point of time, the best can be worst for you also. I'll just narrate it with an anecdote, what happened. Swami had called us all of us into an interview room, and Swami told us something that this is how it should be done, and he explained it to us, the way it should be done. That afternoon, Swami was giving his divine discourse in the convocation address in the university. Same situation, Swami had exactly reversed the entire thing. What he had told us, he just told the exact reverse of it. Next day morning, he called us for an interview, and I had this stupid audacity to ask Swami, Swami, you said this in the morning to us, and in the afternoon, you said this to us. How is this? No, Swami, what he answered? He asked me to just shut up and sit down, and he said, man does not have the right to ask how, when, where, why, what. These 5 questions, मानव को अधिकार नहीं है भगवान को पूछने के लिए. ये क्यों हुआ, कैसे हुआ, कब हुआ, कैसा, कहाँ हुआ, and what. It was only at that point of time I realized that, in our anticipation of hearing something, to wanting to know something from Swami as an answer, you are, as an individual, you only have to pray. The answer may come, the voice may be heard in an action or in any, reverse reaction or whatever that is going to happen, that will happen in that span of time that it has to happen. Sometimes the answer may be immediate, that next second. Sometimes it might take even years for you to understand it. And we have nobody to question Swami, why is it that you're not answering? Because we have to move in that karmic phase of our life. Karma tak bhugatna padega. Swami can only help you to minimize the karma. Swami will never wipe out the karma. And he has said that himself also. And I have incidences that I can prove. I can talk about it. In my life only that has happened. So answers, he will answer. How he answers, you'll have to wait. You'll have to wait. And that waiting itself is penance, tapasya. Answer does not answer when you have an agitated mind. Yeah, very disturbed mind, Swami does not answer.
2 स्टेटमेंट्स कौन से थे जो आपने बोला? स्वामी ने सुबह एक स्टेटमेंट दिया और उसका ऑपोजिट आफ्टरनून में दिया. Could you
So
just repeat that?
Yeah, so Swami had told us in the interview that a particular aspect in life should be followed in this particular manner. He told us how to go about the entire steps in life, that you should be like this, you should do like that. We were doing some seva,
Okay.
and he was telling us how to go about it. And he was talking to students in the afternoon, and he said the reverse to it. You should not do like this, you should never do like this. We are all in the same age group, huh? We're all in the same age group. Imagine a guy like me sitting there. मैंने पूछ लिया, मैंने तो गलती नहीं किया. मैंने पूछा कि Swami, you said this in the morning and you said that in the evening. Which one should we follow? Then he said, what I told you, you follow. Yes. Each one को एक दवाई होता. आपकी सर दर्द आए तो आपको एक दवा काम करता, दूसरा दवा काम नहीं करता. It's as simple as that. Then he said, मानव को अधिकार नहीं है. He blatantly told me on my face, you have no right, fellow, to ask me at all. कब, how, what, why, where, when. मानव को भगवान को पूछने का अधिकार नहीं है. So कुछ होता है अपना जिंदगी में, please don't ask God, why has this happened to me? How has this happened to me? It is just only wasting your time, because he knows when to give you what, when, what, where, everything he knows, because your life is predetermined. कुछ भी हो तो जो डिटरमिन भगवान ने जो लिख दिया है आपका बन जाएगा वो. आप सोच भी नहीं सकते. I am an agriculture guy. I am basically an agriculture guy. Masters in agriculture, went on to do my doctorate. And I worked for 13 years in agriculture in the department. I moved from there. I went to strategy. I went to operations. And finally, an agriculture guy is working in the medical department now. I run a healthcare industry right now. I work in healthcare. कोई सोचा भी नहीं होगा कि I would have ever thought to come to healthcare. Simple. A lot of things happen like this in our life. That's how it is. And you just have to accept it. God, you surrender. See, the ultimate thing is surrender. अरे खरो यार, तू मेरा दोस्त है. You are my best friend, Swami. You take care of me. It works. Surrender to him. मार, लात मारता है मार, धक्का मारता है मार, गिराता है गिरा. मैं फिर उठूंगा भगवान. मैं तुझे छोड़ूंगा नहीं. You are my best friend. Hang on to him. It's as simple as that. Why did Lord Krishna narrate Bhagavad Gita only to Arjuna? There were 4 other brothers. Yudhishthira was there, very learned scholar. Why did Lord Krishna send Yudhishthira to Bhishma for directions? Lord Krishna sent Yudhishthira to Bhishma to get knowledge. But whereas Arjuna, Lord Krishna gave Arjuna directly. There the concept of paschatapa and purvatapa comes. That's what Bhagavan says. Repentance. You repent and then you are become a human mind. You are thinking before that. Paschatapa, purvatapa. You have, and you think about it even before you do something. That's something very important that Swami says. So he said, तुम सेवा करो. Bangalore youth को जाते कहते समय तुम spirituality देखो. तुम सेवा नहीं कर सकते हो. When we talk to Swami, we want to do something like spiritual. Swami बोले तुम्हारी बस की बात नहीं. He said, you guys can never do it. And Swami knows us very well. We can't sit वो तपस्या करके जपमाला करके meditation हमारी बस की बात नहीं. हम जाओ उसको उखाड़ के लेके आओ, वो करके आओ, हम करेंगे. That's how he has trained us. And tell you what a beautiful friend he is. Every aspect. He has even taught us how to walk in an interview room. Can you imagine the Lord of the universe teaching youngsters how to walk when you go out for seva in a village? He walked inside the room and showed it to us. अरे हम देखते हैं जब भगवान आप दर्शन में आते हैं भगवान का रूप देखते हैं, but in the interview room when he is on a one-to-one, mind-boggling such a. With these few words, I thank all of you for this wonderful, great opportunity of sharing some of my thoughts with all of you. Jai Sai Ram.